Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we are exploring something you might not think about too much, but use constantly: your voice. We're going to uncover how to make it more engaging and impactful. We're basing this deep dive off of the article Public Speaking Training 101, Mastering Your Voice, Your Guide to Vocal Perfection by the Moxie Institute.
That's a great topic.
It is. Get ready to discover how to turn your voice into a powerful tool.
Yeah. It's fascinating how often we overlook the impact our voice has on how we're perceived, you know? It's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Absolutely. The article dives right into the importance of enunciation, basically moving your mouth more than you think you need to.
Right.
I know it can feel a little odd at first,
Yeah.
but the impact is huge.
Think about it. Have you ever listened to a speaker who mumbles or doesn't fully form their words?
Oh, yeah,
It's difficult to stay engaged, right?
definitely.
Well, when you enunciate clearly, focusing on crisp consonants, you come across as more confident and trustworthy.
It makes sense. The article even mentions that clear enunciation subconsciously signals to the audience that you're being open and honest, like you have nothing to hide. So beyond just enunciating, how do we make our voices more captivating?
Well, the Moxie Institute stresses the importance of intonation and inflection, essentially adding color to your voice by varying your pitch and tone.
Oh.
Think about how a skilled storyteller can keep you on the edge of your seat just with their voice.
Like those amazing radio DJs who make even traffic reports sound interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
They know how to use their voices to paint a picture and evoke emotions.
Exactly. A flat delivery can be a real snooze fest. But when you use vocal variety, you keep your listeners hooked.
The article suggests practicing with a simple sentence like, "That's incredible." Try saying it with genuine excitement and then with sarcasm. The difference is all in your intonation.
It's a subtle art, but mastering it allows you to connect with your audience on a deeper level. Now, another key aspect they highlight is projection and confidence.
The article emphasizes the impact of projecting your voice, and it's not just about shouting.
Right. It's about engaging your diaphragm for a fuller, richer sound. Imagine breathing from your belly, not just your chest. This gives your voice more power and resonance, allowing it to fill the room.
They say that projecting not only boosts your own confidence, but also makes you appear more confident to others. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. When you project, you take up more space, both physically and metaphorically. It's like you're commanding attention, which naturally leads to a perception of confidence.
So we've covered enunciation, making sure our words are crisp, and we've talked about adding color and depth with intonation and projection. What's next?
Well, the Moxie Institute then dives into the power of pacing and pauses, which can seem counterintuitive.
Okay.
We often think speaking quickly shows intelligence or efficiency, but rushing through your message can actually make it harder for the audience to follow.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Varying your speed keeps things interesting. A faster pace can convey excitement, while slowing down at key moments creates emphasis and gravitas.
And the article emphasizes the importance of pauses.
Mm-hmm.
We might worry that silence makes us look less confident, but strategically placed pauses actually do the opposite.
Think about a powerful speech like Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream." Those pauses weren't accidents.
Right.
They allowed the audience to absorb the weight of his words and let the message really sink in.
That's a great example. It shows how silence can actually amplify what you say.
Yeah.
Pauses give the audience time to reflect, and they create a sense of anticipation for what's coming next.
It's like a musical rest. It doesn't make the melody less impactful. It actually enhances it.
So we've learned that it's not just about what we say, but how we say it.
Definitely.
And it seems like there are so many layers to consider.
Absolutely. And the Moxie Institute goes even deeper, exploring how emphasis and sentence variety can completely change the meaning and impact of your message.
They suggest a fun exercise. Try saying, "I can't tell you not to go," emphasizing a different word each time. It's amazing how it changes the entire meaning of the sentence.
That's because we naturally focus on what's emphasized.
Okay,
If you stress I, it's about your inability to tell them.
got it.
If you emphasize tell, it implies you're withholding information. It's fascinating.
So are we saying every word and sentence needs to be carefully calculated to convey just the right meaning? That seems like a lot of pressure.
It's not about overthinking every word, but rather about developing an awareness of the tools at your disposal. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to use vocal variety effectively.
Yep.
It becomes an extension of your communication style, not a separate set of rules to follow.
That makes sense. And speaking of practice, the Moxie Institute offers some practical advice warming up your facial muscles before speaking.
Right. It might sound silly, but just like athletes warm up their bodies, speakers need to warm up their instruments.
Okay.
Our voices rely on those facial muscles to produce sound.
They recommend simple exercises like moving your jaw around, making silly faces, even humming or buzzing your lips.
Even something as simple as reciting tongue twisters can help improve your enunciation and get those muscles ready to work.
So it's not just about what we say, but how we say it. And warming up those facial muscles is an important step to achieving that vocal mastery.
It's about understanding that our voice is a powerful instrument, and like any instrument, it requires practice and attention to unlock its full potential.
This has been really eye-opening. Who knew there was so much to consider just in how we use our voices?
It's truly fascinating, and I'm curious what's standing out to you so far. What aspect of vocal variety are you most intrigued by?
I think for me, it's the power of pauses. It's amazing how silence can be just as powerful as words, and sometimes even more so.
That's a great observation, and it's something that we can all benefit from incorporating into our communication, whether we're giving a presentation, having a conversation, or even just leaving a voicemail.
This has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too. And there's still more to explore. Next, we'll delve into how these techniques translate to real-world situations, from presentations to everyday conversations.
This is going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see how we can use these vocal techniques to become more confident and impactful communicators.
Me too. Stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into the world of vocal variety.
So we've explored some key vocal techniques: clear enunciation, varied intonation, confident projection, and the power of pauses. Now let's shift gears and see how these play out in real-world scenarios.
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's imagine you're leading a team meeting, trying to rally everyone around a new project.
Okay, I can see how vocal variety could make a big difference there.
Absolutely. Instead of just reading off the agenda in a monotone, imagine starting with a strong projected voice, conveying your own enthusiasm for the project. That energy can be contagious.
Right. And when I'm explaining the project details, I can vary my pace, maybe speak a little faster when describing the exciting possibilities, and then slow down to emphasize key deadlines or challenges.
Exactly. That keeps people listening. And don't forget the power of pauses. After you lay out a particularly challenging aspect, a well-timed pause can give everyone a moment to absorb the information and mentally prepare to tackle it.
It's almost like creating little cliffhangers throughout the meeting to keep everyone on the edge of their seats.
I like that analogy. And when you're discussing different strategies or approaches, you can use vocal inflection to highlight certain words or phrases, adding emphasis to the most important points.
It's like underlining those key takeaways with my voice.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this can transform a mundane meeting into something much more engaging.
It's not about being theatrical, it's about being intentional with your voice as a tool to connect with your team, convey your message clearly, and inspire action.
So what about situations outside of work? Does vocal variety matter just as much in everyday conversations?
Absolutely. Think about how you tell a story to a friend. Do you speak in a monotone, or do you naturally use vocal variety to make the story come alive?
I definitely use more inflection and varied pacing when I'm telling a story. Helps to build the suspense and keep my listener engaged.
Exactly. And those same techniques can enhance any conversation, whether you're sharing a funny anecdote, expressing your opinion, or simply catching up with someone.
So how do we actually start incorporating these techniques into our everyday lives? It feels a little overwhelming to think about all at once.
That's understandable. The key is to start small and practice consistently. The Moxie Institute encourages experimentation. Try different techniques, see what feels natural to you, and gradually integrate them into your communication style.
So like any skill, it takes practice. Are there any specific exercises we can try?
Absolutely. One simple but effective exercise is recording yourself speaking.
Hmm.
It could be a presentation, a conversation, even just reading a passage from a book. Then listen back critically. Pay attention to your enunciation, your inflection, your pacing, your pauses.
Well, that's a good idea. It's easy to be unaware of our vocal habits until we hear them played back to us.
Exactly. You might be surprised by what you notice. And as you identify areas where you can improve, make conscious efforts to incorporate those changes into your daily communication.
So it's about awareness, experimentation, and practice. It's about finding our own unique voice and using it effectively.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Don't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. Like any skill, mastering vocal variety takes time and effort, but the rewards are well worth it.
I can already see how these techniques could boost my confidence and help me connect with people on a deeper level. It's almost like learning a secret language.
I love that analogy. And as you become more comfortable with these techniques, you'll find that they become second nature. Your voice will become a powerful tool for expressing yourself, connecting with others, and making a lasting impression.
This deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to the power of my own voice. I'm feeling inspired to experiment and see what I can do.
That's fantastic. And remember, as you explore these techniques, have fun with it. Allow your personality to shine through.
That's a great point. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about unlocking the full potential of who we already are.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your reflections. What's resonating with you the most from everything we've discussed?
Hmm, that's a great question. I think what's sticking with me is the idea that our voices are like instruments. We can learn to play them with more skill and finesse, and the more we practice, the more beautiful the music becomes.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It reminds us that we have this incredible tool at our disposal, and it's up to us to explore its possibilities.
Absolutely. And I think the Moxie Institute's emphasis on experimentation and finding what feels natural to us is really important. It's not about trying to fit into a mold. It's about discovering our own unique vocal style.
I couldn't agree more. It's about embracing the uniqueness of our voices and using them to connect with the world in authentic and meaningful ways.
This has been such a fascinating conversation. I'm feeling energized and inspired to keep exploring the world of vocal variety. But before we go, I have one final question for our listener.
I'm intrigued. What is it?
We've talked about all these techniques, but I think the most important question is this. What message are you sending with your voice right now?
That's such a powerful question. It encourages us to be mindful of our vocal choices and to consider the impact we're having on others.
It challenges us to ask ourselves, are we projecting confidence and authenticity?
Mm.
Are we engaging our listeners with our inflection and pacing? Are we using pauses effectively to let our message sink in?
It's a reminder that our voices are powerful tools, and we have a responsibility to use them thoughtfully and intentionally.
I love that. It's not just about sounding good. It's about using our voices to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to keep exploring the amazing potential of your voice. Experiment, practice, and most importantly, have fun with it.
And remember, the journey to vocal mastery is ongoing. There's always something new to learn and discover. So keep listening, keep practicing, and keep using your voice to share your unique gifts with the world. Wow, it's amazing how much we've uncovered about vocal variety just from this one article from the Moxie Institute.
Yeah, it really highlights how much we can convey with our voices, even beyond the words themselves.
Absolutely, and it's given us a lot of practical tips and techniques to experiment with.
Yeah, definitely. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of those key takeaways.
Okay.
We started by emphasizing the importance of enunciation, making sure every word is clear and crisp.
Right, because if people can't understand what you're saying, the rest doesn't really matter. We talked about how practicing tongue twisters or focusing on those crisp consonant sounds can make a big difference.
And then we moved on to intonation and inflection, adding color and emotion to our voices by varying our pitch and tone.
Like when you're telling an exciting story, you naturally raise your pitch and add more emphasis to certain words. It's about bringing those same elements into our everyday communication, even if we're just talking about a project at work.
Exactly. And we can't forget about projection, engaging our diaphragms to create a full, resonant sound that commands attention.
It's not about shouting, but about using our breath to support our voices and project them effectively. It can make you feel more confident and make a bigger impact on your listeners.
And then there's the power of pacing and pauses. We often think speaking quickly is more efficient, but slowing down, using pauses strategically, can actually make our message more impactful.
It's like giving your audience time to catch their breath and really absorb what you're saying. Plus, it can make you seem more confident and in control.
Absolutely. And finally, we discussed the importance of emphasis and sentence variety, using our voices to highlight key words and phrases and keep our listeners engaged.
It's fascinating how just changing the emphasis on one word can completely change the meaning of a sentence. It's like adding punctuation to our spoken words.
It's about being intentional with our message, making sure that our tone and emphasis align with what we want to convey.
It's been a truly insightful deep dive.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that developing your speaker persona, as the Moxie Institute calls it, takes time and practice.
It's not about trying to sound like someone else. It's about finding what feels natural and authentic to you. and then practicing those techniques until they become second nature.
So whether you're a seasoned public speaker or just starting to explore the power of your voice, I encourage you to keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep having fun with it.
There's a whole world of vocal possibility out there just waiting to be discovered.
This has been such an enriching conversation. We've learned so much about the power of our voices to influence, inspire, and connect with others.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you today.
And to you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore the amazing potential of your own voice. Remember, the journey to vocal mastery is ongoing, so keep practicing, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep sharing your unique voice with the world.